Hi, welcome to Outsmart Your Guitar. Glad you could drop by and see what we're doing. Today we're offering part 1 on transposition, how to transpose music from one key to another key. This is a mystery to some people, but it's not really all that difficult if you just follow a few guidelines, which we're going to lay out here. All right, let's get to it. But wait, press that red button down there in the corner and you'll be subscribed to Outsmart Your Guitar. Ring the notification bell and you'll be informed when new lessons are posted, which is around once a week or so. For an expanded version of this lesson, go on over to patreon.com, Outsmart Your Guitar, and subscribe at the building blocks level to get this lesson and a whole lot of other lessons that are available to you. All right? In so doing, you will be contributing to helping me to provide high quality lesson material to help you learn, play, and grow to be the guitar player you desire to be, to play the music you love, even write your own music. Sound good? All right, let's get to it. Transposition is an important skill to have, particularly when you're working with a singer. The simple reality is that is the primary function and purpose of transposing a song, is because your singer needs that song to be in their sweet spot. If this is their sweet spot, but part of the song is too low or too high in relation to their sweet spot, they're not going to sound good because it's going to be too breathy or too screechy up there, right? You don't want breathy or screechy. You want sweet. So you transpose. If it's too low, you bring it up. If it's too high, you bring it down into the right key. All right? So there's certain tools you need to possess to make this happen. And that's what we're going to be introducing you to right now. Okay? So let's take a look. Let's look at the major scale. The reason we're looking at the major scale is because it is the basis upon which we create chords and also chord position relative to the root or the key tone, in this case, A. So the A major scale is pretty straightforward. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and back to A at the octave. Below each interval of the major scale, you see a Roman numeral. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to 1 at the root octave. All right? So those Roman numerals represent chord position relative to the 1, which in this case is A. All right? So let's look at the major scale for a moment in tablature, if for no other reason, just to give you a slight bit of review. The major scale is pretty straightforward here in the key of A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, back to A, the octave of the root. Now again, each of the Roman numerals now represents a chord's position relative to the root or the key tone, which is A. We'll get into that in just a moment. All right, now that we have that simple reality established, that the 7 notes of the major scale have numerical equivalents, right? Let's take a progression. Here you're going to play a simple short stack blues progression in A. So it's just going to be A, D, and E, the chords of the progression. You can play it straight or you can play it shuffle. 2, 3, 4. Now I know we're just playing the 5 and the 6 of the chord, but it's essentially an A, a D, and an E chord. So it still works. Now, let's break this down. Back to the scale, and you see the A major scale, and below it the 7 scale degrees. Now, we know the chords are A, D, and E, and we know our key is A, therefore the A major scale, right? And we see A, well, that's the first scale degree, because that's the key tone, and so the key of the song, and that's the first scale degree, so it's the 1 chord. We know we have a D as well, so we go to the D and look down below that. That's the 4th scale degree, so that is the 4 chord. Next door is the E, and we see that's the 5th scale degree, so that's the 5 chord. So we have a 1, 4, 5 progression. Yes, you've heard that term before. You may remember in the original Back to the Future movie, Marty McFly is now subbing for the injured guitar player, and he and the band get up on stage, and he puts on the guitar, and he turns to the band and says something to the effect of, "Okay, boys, it's a 1, 4, 5 in the key of B. Try to keep up." Marty's feeling cocky. Okay, so basically the band understood 1, 4, 5. The only information they needed beyond that was the key, and Marty provided that as well, the key of B. Now they can play the song. And this is what they saw, this information here. All right, so let's look at this just a slight bit different way. It never hurts to double check your work, right? So we know the song is in A, and we're here at the 5th fret on the 6th string, and we know that's an A. And we're using the A major scale to find the other scale degrees to locate the root of each of the other 2 chords, which is D and E. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, well, our figuring just a moment ago that the D was the 4 tone, this confirms it. And then next door is the E, which we know is the 5 tone. So we're sure that we know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. A, D, E. We're good. Now we know that we know that we know we've got it right. And that's always a good thing. All right, here's the progression now having replaced the chord names with their scale degree equivalent names, or numbers as the case may be. When you see 1, you play A. When you see 4, you play D. When you see 5, you play E. So what I want you to do now is pause the video and play through the progression in A. You'll notice nothing's changed. We're just using a different reference for each of the 3 chords. Now we want to change keys. So what we do is we reverse engineer from what we just did. We have the numbers. We have the 1, the 4, and the 5. And we have the grid to understand how that works too, right? So what we do is now we want to move into the key of C. So we know we use the major scale to find the scale degrees for the A, the D, and the E. Now we know the scale degrees, 1, 4, 5. So we go to the key of C, play the major scale, and find 1, 4, 5. And now we then reverse engineer from scale degree numbers to scale degree notes. Reverse engineering is pretty straightforward. We're going to start with the scale degrees, and we're in the key of C, so we know the first scale degree is C, because that's our key. So C is the 1 chord. We go to the 4th scale degree, and we see below that is F. So F becomes the 4 chord. We go to the 5th scale degree and we see G, and G becomes the 5 chord. So C is the 1 chord, F is the 4 chord, G is the 5 chord. All right? You got it? Good. We're in the key of C using the C major scale, right? And each note has a scale degree. So we know the 1 is C. So there's the position of C at the 8th fret on the 6th string. We go 1, 2, 3, and we go up to 4. And that at the 8th fret on the 5th string is F. And we go to 5 at the 10th fret of the 5th string, that's G. So we know our 1, our 4, and our 5. Now the reason I'm doing this is you'll recognize the pattern. The pattern is what matters because it's unchanging. All right? Very important. I'm displaying the scale degree progression because we've already backward engineered this to find out what the chords are in the key of C. We used the scale itself, and we've also worked it out here, right? So that we know C is the 1, F is the 4, G is the 5. So if we look at the scale degree progression, we understand what each of the 3 chords is, right? We're just in the key of C. 2, 3, 4. And that's it. Exactly what I played in the key of A, I just played in the key of C. So what I want you to understand here is what we've been starting to talk about, patterns. All progressions are patterns, just as all scales are patterns. We saw the A major scale earlier. You play the exact same pattern in C, and it's the C major scale, because scales are not key dependent. Just as chords are not key dependent, just as progressions are now, as you are beginning to learn, not key dependent. But each of them is a pattern. And so if you understand the pattern, all you need to know is what key you play that pattern in, and you're good to go. All right? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to pause the video and start transposing this into other keys. I don't remember what I put in the written material, but for the sake of argument, put it in E flat at the 11th fret, put it in B flat at the 6th fret, then put it in G at the 3rd fret. Play it in those 3 different keys. Don't gloss over doing this exercise. Learn how to move things around because it matters. The simple reality is you're going to come into a situation where the guys are going to say, oh yeah, we don't play the song in that key. We play it in this key. Is that going to be a problem? I had an audition where they didn't tell me this very important fact. They gave me the songs, I learned them, then I show up, and they were performing live, so I was going to be featured as a guest performer. So really put on the spot, but it's a great way to audition a player. So we're in the green room, and they said, oh yeah, we don't play this song in the key it's written in. We play it in this key because our singer can't sing it in the original key. Is that going to be a problem? Well, I pulled my guitar out, and a minute later I said, no, I got it, we're good. And so they went out and started their set, and then they called me out, and we went through a couple of songs, and then we got to this song. And we were able to play it because I was able to transpose it. As a result of being able to transpose it and not dropping the song from the audition, I got the gig. It was a great gig. It was a great tour as well. So that's why this stuff matters. You never know when you're going to be in a situation that's going to matter, that you know how to transpose things into different keys. So take your time here, 15, 20 minutes if you need to. Figure this out. You've got the tools now. Use them to help you. All right? Then, when you're ready to continue, press play. Of course, a 1-4-5 progression is pretty straightforward, pretty easy stuff. So, what do you do with, say, a pop progression? Let's take a look at that. Looking at a pop progression, it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to use all bar chords just for consistency. You have an A, C sharp minor, D, E. You can go to the F here, go to the G here, and then back to the A, into the G. And you can pretty much strum whatever pattern you want. Okay? I mean, it really literally doesn't matter. You can just comp the 5 and mute it. Do whatever you want. You know, syncopate it. Whatever you feel like doing. The object here is learn this progression. So pause the video and play through this a little bit for a few minutes. And then let's talk about how we're going to convert this into scale degrees. All right, you ready? Here we go. The progression you just played is in A. Now, how can we say that? The simple reality is that pop progressions usually start on the key chord. So this progression starts on A, and we're going to assume that's the key chord. There are other aspects of the progression that point to A being the key, but we won't get into that now. So we're just going to assume A occupies the first scale degree, and so is now the 1 chord. The second chord is C sharp minor. In the major scale in A, you see C sharp occupies the 3rd scale degree. Therefore, C sharp minor is the 3 chord. And we'll get into how that's written out in a moment, but right now we're just going to keep going. I'll get back to the C sharp minor in a minute. The next chord is a D, and we see in the scale it occupies the 4th scale degree. So D is the 4 chord. We see E is the next chord, and here in the scale it occupies the 5th scale degree, so it's the 5 chord. E is the 5 chord. Now, the next chord is F, but in the A major scale there is no F. We go right from E to F sharp, bypassing the F altogether. How do we accommodate the F chord? Well, in the same way we accommodate an F tone in notation. We're going to raise the 5, the 5th scale degree, 1/2 step by putting a sharp symbol before the 5 itself. So the E is raised a 1/2 step to F. So we designate the F as a sharp 5 scale degree. So now the chord F is a sharp 5 chord. It's in the written material too. The next chord of the progression is G. Well, the 6th scale degree is F sharp, and the 7th scale degree is G sharp. No G in this scale. So we have to accommodate it by doing the same thing, only this time we're going to flatten the 7th scale degree 1/2 step. So we're going to put a flat symbol before the 7, which makes it a G. So now the G occupies the flat 7 scale tone and becomes the flat 7 chord. All right? I know, a little confusing. Again, it's in the written material. Now, let's look at that C sharp minor. Minor chords are written a little bit different. This is in the written material as well. They are written with lowercase letters. Uppercase letters are reserved for major chords. Lowercase letters are for minor chords. So the C sharp minor would be written out small I. Now, if the C sharp minor was actually a minor 7 chord, C sharp minor 7, because the lowercase I tells us it's minor already, we don't need a little m to say minor. All we need is the lowercase I and then a 7 right after it. We know it's a minor chord because of the lowercase 3. Which version of the minor chord is where the 7 comes in? Oh, it's just a minor 7, okay? And that's how minor chords are written out, lowercase. Major chords, uppercase. Minor chords, lowercase. All right? So now, the next thing you do is look in the written material. You'll see there's an 8-bar blank form here. So you take the progression, the pop progression, convert everything to scale degree numbers and write them out on the blank progression form. Now you have your basis. Because the next thing you're going to do is now transpose, right? Because that's what this is all about. Get another copy of the blank progression form and now convert everything into the key of C. Transpose into the key of C and write out the one chord, well, write out C on that new form because you have the one, the scale degree one. Now you're going to write it out in the new key. You're going to use the C major scale to find your scale degrees for each of the chords, and then you're going to write each chord out. What is its actual letter designation? Then do it in the key of E flat and do it in the key of G. I don't remember what I wrote down in the written material, but you can do those as well. Now, pause the video and engage in actually doing this. It matters. You're going to love that you can transpose into any key, any progression. It's that simple. It's that straightforward, okay? So take 10 to 15 minutes and really do this, and then play them in the new key to double check your work, right? Then, once you've done this for a little while, 15 minutes, maybe more, take your time. Get it right. When you're ready to continue, press play. All right, now you have the tool set to help you start really digging in to transposing songs from one key to another key. It's a valuable skill to have because you never know when you might need it. If you're in a band and your singer is struggling with a key that the song is in because you're playing it like it is on the record, sit everybody down and go, you know what? This ain't working for the singer. We need to find the right key. So you go and convert the song into its scale degrees, numbers, and then sit down with the singer and work out what the key is that works for them. Then move the song into that key. They will thank you for it because they'll have an easier time singing it. And if you're the singer, you'll be thankful that you have this skill so that you can get songs in the key that works for you. All right? So, lesson 2 will be there. What I want you to do right now is take the songs you know, sit down and start transposing them using the tools you have here into different keys. Just for the sake of doing it, to hone your skill in knowing how to transpose. Believe me, you will love it once you know how to do it. All right? And when you're ready for lesson 2, it'll be there, as will I. We'll see you then.